Hello guys and welcome back to Fat Pack Magic. We've got some Team Unified Pioneer here to go, hosted by Darkside Games. Now, up top, we've got TWC featuring Ben Friedman, and he's playing Mono Red. And on the bottom, we've got Team Super Unicorn Alpha Hyper Force Go with Kevin Weeks playing Simic Nexus. Now, we saw part of his deck in the previous video, and it didn't do as much, but it takes a long time to go off, and in that time frame, the other players had finished their matches. But here we're starting off. Kevin Weeks on the play, playing a Lumbering Falls and passing the turn to Ben, who drops a mountain and passes right back. Kevin plays an island, he's holding up something, and Ben says, here's a Runaway Steamkin, and Runaway Steamkin runs headfirst into a sensor, getting countered for one, and allowing Kevin a little bit of breathing room. Kevin draws for turn, and it's a good start. He's already up to 3 lands, and he plays out a Blast Zone. And that is going to be strong for Ben's deck, which is filled with 1-drops, 2-drops. Here we go. But Ben starts off his turn with a Wild Slash, dealing 2 damage to Kevin, and he follows it up with a Light Up the Stage. Now, this isn't too great. It reveals 2 lands, but at least Ben has his land drops for the next 2 turns. End of turn, Kevin is going to opt. Looking at the card, is he going to keep it? Yep, goes straight to his hand, and he draws for turn. Now, he might just want to keep that Blast Zone at 1, because the Mono Red deck is filled with 1-drops. And Kevin launches a Search for Escanta, and passing the turn right back to Ben, who plays a land and passes the turn. Man, this is just giving Kevin all the room and all the ammunition he needs to start going off. As he plays lands and gets to filter with that Search for Escanta, he's digging for a Wilderness Reclamation or some extra turn stuff. But he passes the turn to Ben, and Ben, end of turn, does a Wizard's Lightning, dealing 3 damage to Kevin, bringing him down to 15. That might be the game plan, just burning out Kevin before he can go off. But Kevin's already at 5 lands, and a Wilderness Reclamation can really get the juices going. But he's going to end the turn with a Hieroglyphic Illumination, drawing 2 cards, and further putting more cards in the graveyard for the Search for Escanta. Kevin decides to untap. Looking at the top card, it's another Search, and that's going to get dumped into the yard, allowing Kevin another draw. Well, a draw, but, you know, digging a bit deeper. He plays out his 6th land, and, I mean, he's really close. I mean, he's got all the ammunition he needs, but end of turn, Ben is going to launch a Lightning Strike and another Wizard's Lightning, bringing Kevin down to 9. And, now he's down to 6 with another Lightning Strike, and then Ben follows up his turn with a Experimental Frenzy. And the top of Ben's deck is just super live right now, and Kevin's only at 6 life, so he's got not a lot of time. But a Hieroglyphic Illumination is going to draw him 2 more cards, and he's deciding on whether or not he wants to launch off that Dig Through Time he has in hand. Or maybe putting the Experimental Frenzy back to his hand with a Brazen Borrower. But it looks like the Dig Through Time is going to get to digging, and he needs to find a way to start taking more turns than Ben and start generating all that extra mana with the Wilderness Reclamation. 2 cards get put to Kevin's hand, and is it time to go off? He's got 6 lands. He needs a 7th. He mills a top with Search for Escanta, draws for turn. Does he have his 7th land? It looks like it. Yep, here's a castle. He goes to his end step. Or no. He says, wait, here, before that. There it is. Is that, I think it's the Wilderness Reclamation. Ooh, that's gonna be scary. I don't know what Kevin's really waiting for. It doesn't look like Ben has much of an option. So here comes the Wilderness Reclamation. And he's got the Nexus in hand. Is there anything he wants to fire off beforehand? He's got a Tameo in hand, but end of turn, he's going to start floating mana. And here comes the Nexus of Fate. Now, I know it looks like a proxy card. However, Nexus of Fate is only available in the foil versions, and those curled really bad. The foiling process on those were not good. It doesn't make them ineligible cards, but it means that they can be marked in a deck. So he got a judge certified proxy on that plains that says it's a Nexus of Fate. And end of turn, he's going to use a Brazen Borrower, bouncing the Frenzy, and cycling a Censor, revealing the top to be a Growth Spiral that gets milled with the Search for Escanta. What he really needs is another Nexus of Fate to start chaining them together over and over and over again. And looks like here we go. Here's 4 mana. Is that another Wilderness Reclamation, or is he going to drop the Tamiyo? Now, he doesn't have a lot of time. At 6 life, all it takes is 2 burn spells, and he's dead. So he drops another Wilderness Reclamation, and then here comes the Tamiyo. Tamiyo is going to come in, and what is she flipping for? Looks like he's naming Nexus of Fate, and doesn't hit it, but still pumping a ton of cards into the graveyard, untapping his lands with the first Wilderness Reclamation, and the question is, does he have the Nexus in hand to be able to go for it? But here comes 1, 2, 3, it's another dig through time, delving through his graveyard and just pitching it all for a dig through time and a foil one. It looks pretty good, actually. The question is, can he find a Nexus of Fate? And it looks like he did. That nice little proxied plains card looks like a Nexus of Fate to me. Here's 2 cards down, the rest going to the bottom. And as he digs through his deck and mills it out with the dig through time, that Nexus is almost always going to be, he's almost always going to find a copy in there because there's 4 of them. Here's the Nexus of Fate, and Ben wanting to confirm that this is a judge confirmed proxy and not just, some random card. And being that this is Comp Ariel, Kevin has been subjected to a deck check by the local judge here, so we know that it's a fine deck, everything's okay. Sometimes you go through a deck check, and there were a couple of decks that did not fully align with what their list said. But here we go. Kevin doing his second untap and looking at the top 2 with his castle before taking his another turn. This is turn 2, and Ben says, you know what, nope, I'm going to use the time to try and beat you in another game. So the first game goes to Kevin, and we are going to take a look at another game while they shuffle up. So here we go. And here we are. TWC featuring Rob Pisano playing Simic Aggro has the lead 1-0 against the Team Super Alpha Unicorn. That group. Quentin Torres is playing Boros Goblins, and he needs a strong victory against Rob to bring up a tie against this match. Both players have decided to keep. Quentin is going to be on the play, and he's starting off with a land into a Fanatical Firebrand, bringing Rob down to 19 with a quick peck. But Rob follows up with the Llanowar Elves and passes the turn back to Quentin. Quentin untaps, and he's got a stacked hand full of goblins, which is exactly what you want in this kind of matchup. Plays the land, and rather than attacking, he's just going to ping the elf, and it looks like he's dropping a Goblin Pile Driver with protection from blue and the ability to just get insanely pumped on numbers, meaning that Oko can't target him and make him an elf. But Rob has the follow-up. It's a Gilded Goose making a food token and passes the turn back to Quentin, who swings in for 1, bringing Rob down to 18. And that's not what you want to start off with, a big pile driver. You want more power to it. And it looks like he has another pile driver in hand, and that's going to come down as Quentin passes the turn back to Rob. Man, these guys are playing fast. It's hard to keep up. But Rob has the Wicked Wolf, eating a food token to make mana. The Wicked Wolf chomping on a Goblin Pile Driver and providing a 3/3 blocker that's in green, a very relevant blocker that can get into the Goblin Pile Driver's way. But the Goblin Pile Driver has some friends. It's 2 Goblin Instigators coming down, and Pile Driver is going to be fit to be big and thick next turn. Rob starts off his turn. He's got the Oko, and the Oko makes the Fudo, because that token can actually be pretty relevant with that Wicked Wolf in play. Rob doesn't have the land drop, but he passes the turn back to Quentin, and Quentin's got a fat stack of Goblins and a pile driver to make great use of them. So here they come, all swinging in. 4 damage at Oko, and 8 damage with the pile driver, also at Oko. Unfortunately, the pile driver is going to run into a Wicked Wolf who's going to become indestructible, and a Gilded Goose is going to honk at a Goblin token, meaning Oko is only going to take 3 damage, and the Wicked Wolf is going to be a 4/4 indestructible. But Quentin's got a Goblin pile driver as the follow-up, killing off the Goose and dealing 1 damage to Oko and 1 to Rob, and he passes the turn back to Rob. There's a lot going on in this game, as you guys can tell. Holy crap, I finally got a chance to catch my breath. So, Rob starts off his turn, making another food token. He's a bit on defense, but Wicked Wolf is going to be able to eat through all those Goblins, and he still has an Oko that's effectively gaining him a ton of life, not just with the food tokens, but by being a high loyalty target that those Goblins have to swing in. So he plays out an Elvish Mystic and a Scavenging Ooze, meaning that next turn his Nykthos is going to be able to tap for a ton of mana. He passes the turn back to Quentin. Quentin in a really rough situation here. He's got to kill off that Oko, but a Wicked Wolf being indestructible every turn is just going to get in the way and start eating through all of his offense. And not to mention that there's a Mystic and a Scavenging Ooze, and that Ooze is going to be able to chew through his yard and gain life and get counters. Quentin goes to combat, passes combat, then plays a Rabble Master, meaning that not all of his Goblins have to swing in, and passes the turn back to Rob. Rob in a commanding position here, but that's what Oko does. Counting up his mana, it looks like he's got plenty of Nykthos mana. Here's 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 5 green mana, 6 with the Elvish Mystic tapped. What is Rob about to deploy? It looks like it's a Walking Ballista on 3, which means that all of Quentin's Goblins are now suspect. Rob takes a point of pain, 2 points of pain, going down to 15 to make a breeding pool, makes another food token with the Oko, and then, is he deciding on whether or not he wants to start paying stuff? Yep, 2 counters go away, pinging away that Rabble Master as he passes the turn back to Quentin. And Oko just thoroughly dominating this game. Quentin can't handle it, and the match win goes to Rob, and that is a lead for TWC. Now it looks like Ben Friedman and Kevin have finished their game 2, and it's tied 1-1. So we're gonna check out game 3 over there right now. And we're back. Simic Nexus took a thrashing in the previous game, and now they're tied up 1-1, and Kevin needs this win to keep his team alive in this matchup. Looks like Kevin is going to be on the play, and he's starting off tentatively with a Fabled Passage and passing the turn back to Ben, who's launching off a turn 1 Soulscar Mage and passing back to Kevin, who fetches up an island into play tapped. And I have to say, I like these unstable lands. They look pretty good in Kevin's deck. They look nice. I love those islands. They're very, very pretty. And I think I'm gonna root for Kevin simply on that fact. But Kevin drops a Hinterland Harbor. He's got his colors going, and the question is he gonna hold something up, or does he have a play for us? And it looks like he's consulting that very option with his teammate Danny. And Danny says, you know what? Go for the Search for Escanta. And that's what Kevin does. He's playing it out. He needs to start filling his graveyard and get some mana advantage going ASAP. Ben swings in at Kevin, dealing 1 little point of damage, and then dropping the Runaway Steamkin and passing the turn back to Kevin. Kevin looking at the top of his library, and it looks like it's going to hit the yard. It's a Lumbering Falls. Not what he really wants. He needs all of his mana untapped as fast as possible. And it looks like he's got a Thing in the Ice in hand, and that's exactly what he's going to deploy, leaving open that blue-green mana in case Ben has an onslaught that Kevin can fog his way through. But still, a 0-4 blocker is going to put a little bit of a damper on Ben's game plan, or so it would seem. He's got a lot of burn coming, and it's good that it's aimed at a creature rather than aimed at Kevin's face. Ben decides he's going to go to combat. Nope, he's going to play a Soulscar Mage and put a counter on that runaway Steamkin. And now is it combat time? Yeah, it looks like combat time. Crashing in for 3 damage, and Kevin decides not to risk his pretty little thing in the ice and take 3 damage. But Ben says, wait, hold up. After blocks, before damage, are we seeing some spells, some prowess going on, some extra damage with that runaway Steamkin? No, it's a Bone Crusher Giant dealing 2 damage, not to Kevin's face, but to that thing in the ice, making it a 0-2 blocker. It's going to pump up the Soulscar Mage and put a counter on that runaway Steamkin, dealing 5 damage to Kevin and bringing him down to 14, while effectively putting his thing in the ice in danger territory. Kevin opts to draw, but it looks like he's missing a land drop. Now that is incredibly bad for this kind of deck, because you need all the land drops and you need them on time every time. And Kevin just has to pass the turn back to Ben. And Ben is in a really strong situation here because, it's not going to take too much to get through that thing in the ice. And now here comes another Bone Crusher Giant prowess on 2 Soulscar Mages, 2 counters off that thing in the ice, putting it to the yard. And now Ben has a strong output of damage. Here's 2, 4, 8 damage that's going to be coming right into Kevin's face. Maybe not? He's counting up the damage. It looks like he went to combat, but he might be deciding on something else. He's got another Bone Crusher Giant in hand. Could that be lethal? I don't know. He could launch 1 Bone Crusher, removing 3 counters from the Steamkin, and casting the other Bone Crusher, effectively putting 2 counters back on it, but never mind. Here's damage. 8 damage, bringing Kevin down to 6. And Kevin really holding on to that fog. Does he know that there's a Bone Crusher Giant on its way to his face? After damage, here comes 3 mana with the runaway Steamkin, putting it into a Bone Crusher Giant and putting another counter on that runaway Steamkin. And Kevin is facing down a lot of damage. A lot of damage. And question is, I guess he's going to try and save it for a Growth Spiral to try and draw and put another land in play. But Ben is really unloading here, dropping a Get 2 Lava Runner and putting a counter on the Steamkin before passing the turn. But here's a Growth Spiral with that on the stack, Cycling Sensor, allowing Kevin to draw 2 cards and put a land into play. Kevin now at 4 lands. He can start maybe going with the Tamiyo plan, maybe doing a little bit of Wilderness Reclamation here. But the Search for Riscanta is going to flip, milling a castle to the yard, and hopefully drawing Kevin another land and maybe another shot at being alive here. 2 mana comes down. It's another thing in the ice. It's going to be able to pose as a big blocker, and hopefully with enough instants and sorceries, maybe unflip all of Ben's cards to his hand. Kevin has a Brazen Borrower, which can bounce, and a Fog in hand as a last case scenario. But here comes the team. Ben swinging in. Kevin says Fog, removing a counter from that thing in the ice. Jason, Ben's teammate, is reading Bone Crusher Giant. And Bone Crusher Giant's Stomp ability, as an instant, has some very relevant text, especially in this situation. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt with Fog. And Bone Crusher Giant says, damage can't be prevented. I don't know why Ben is slow rolling this for Kevin. Maybe he's worried about a counterspell? But the fog resolves. And Kevin says, okay, Bone Crusher Giant, targeting you. 2 damage. Damage can't be prevented this turn. Kevin reads it. Yep, that's game, match. And that is a team win for Ben Friedman's team. TWC is going to go on to the semifinals, which we will see in the next video. But that's it for us this time on Fat Pack Magic. Make sure you tap that like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe to see all the new videos, and if you like this content and you want to support us, check us out on Patreon. We've got all sorts of rewards, and your support helps keep me going, making new videos, upgrading my equipment, getting more games, and if we hit the benchmark, I really want to start streaming soon, doing the Twitch stream on all these matches, having it be live. I think that'd be awesome, don't you? As always, thanks for watching, and may all your packs be fat.